Fours are right on when they say there's not just 9 types of people in the world. And they're right. Everybody's uniquely made according to Scripture. The Enneagram actually doesn't quite say it that way. It actually keeps on breaking it down to show some of the uniqueness. But it is an anthropological system that helps you understand people. I wouldn't say everybody's characterized the same. It's just not true. But let's look at the unique flavors of fours and how they can come off differently and be motivated slightly differently. So you could either be a 4 with a 3 wing, like John Mayer is a good example of this, great musician, or 4 with a 5 wing. Edgar Allan Poe is a great example of this. 4 with 3 wings can be much more aristocratic and ambitious and upbeat when they're doing well. When they're not doing so well, they could definitely be more emotionally volatile. A 4 with a 5 wing could be introverted and reserved when they're healthy, when they're thriving, when they're walking with the Lord. Or they could be much more depressed when they're not. There's been a lot of speculation in the Enneagram world about the significance of the 4 and the 5 at the bottom here, in the sense of the depressed sense. But in general, 4s are okay with things being a little bit darker, but the 4 with the 5 wing would explore that space a little bit more. Now, the subtypes, these are the 3 different motivators inside their typical 4 motivator. Usually you have a primary and a secondary, and you're kind of turned off to that third. It's a blind spot for you. The first one, the self-preservation, is a subtype, is what we call it. They usually don't want you to see the deep feelings that they're often having. They don't look like a 4 because they typically put on a happy face and deal with their emotions privately. They are much more long-suffering and stoic in their deep pain, and they hope that they will be appreciated for their self-sacrifice. And they are sacrificing a lot to be able to manage that kind of emotion on the inside. A one-to-one, this much more dramatic person, loves that one-to-one intensity in relationships. And this subtype will deal with their pains and feelings of shame by making others, that usually significant other, suffer instead of them. They're much more vocal in expressing their needs, and they tend to rebel against anything that brings shame on their own desires or longings. They are the most competitive of the 9 types. That's amazing. And they are comparing themselves to others constantly to see that they're better. That's what they really want to see. And they'll become angry if others are not giving them what they desire. Now, a social 4, a critical commentator, is much more envious, which causes them to be more caught up in shame and suffering emotionally in general. They're much more sensitive in general. They will intensify their suffering around others to get their needs met, and they find comfort in being melancholy. They're just content in that space a lot more. They long to be a part of a group, but often compare themselves and envy others, which leads to their shame and feelings of being flawed. Their moods are a big deal, and they can be ways to get the attention that they desire. They kind of have that way of attention seeking. So that is a little bit on the nuances or flavors of 4s.